Now that we have our roof on, I want to show you how to do ceilings. And we did the roof first because I want to show you how using the roof tool can relate to your ceilings inside. The first ceiling option is to just change the ceiling height from one room to another. So I've got this house set at 9 feet throughout, and I'm going to make a vaulted ceiling or a cathedral ceiling in here and a tray ceiling in here and add beams in here. But I want to show you how to raise the ceiling, just basic raise the ceiling. So in here we've got our 9 foot ceilings here. So all I have to do to change the ceiling height in this room is select the room and open it up and go to the structure. And so see, I've got my 9 foot rough ceiling here, but I want this ceiling to be raised because it's in my living room. So I'm going to make it a 12 foot ceiling in there. I'm just going to raise that up. And you can see here in this section illustration, it has raised up my ceiling in that room. So I'm going to click OK. And there, it has raised the ceiling in there, but you can see it is still my 9 foot ceiling in the other rooms everywhere else. So that is how you can raise the ceiling or lower the ceiling in any rooms that you have. What you need to be aware of, though, when you do that is how it might affect your roof or any other items that you've got. So you can see when I raised that up, it changed my roof line out here. So if you're just doing interiors, you're not worried about the outside, then that doesn't matter to you at all. If you are working on a whole house, then you're going to need to make adjustments for your roof, which is going to be an advanced skill. And you also need to consider, if you have a second floor, how any of that is working, if you've got a floor above it. So that is how you adjust the height, but you just have to be aware if you've got other structural things going on that you want to think about that. And that's going to be the same with any of your ceiling treatments, and anything that you really do like that within Chief, because it builds it for you here, just like it would in real life. So it's showing you what would happen here if you were to raise that ceiling. There's workarounds for this, but that's an advanced roof skill that we're not going to get into in this course. Well, let's go inside to this room, and I'm going to switch to this mouse tilt because that way I can look around inside the room. So in this room, I have got my 9 foot flat ceiling here, but I actually want this to be a vaulted ceiling because this is my bedroom. So what I want to do first is I'm going to select the room, double click to go into the dialog and into its structure, and I'm going to turn off that ceiling in that room. So now when I look around over here, I can see the underside of my roof. So there's the little, I'm inside the wall, so let's scoot over. So there's the underside of my roof, and there's the little pop-up gable that we did on the outside to accommodate those windows and make that the nice front elevation. But there's what the roof does inside. So that's one reason that we like to use roofs, even when we're just doing interiors, because we can get all of these interesting ceiling shapes at the same time. So with that, you can see that I've only got a slope coming up on this side of the room. And then it's doing all sorts of ugly things happening over here that we don't want. So we're going to use a ceiling plane to drop in there to create the other side of this cathedral ceiling. So what we want to do is go into our roof tool, and we're going to use a ceiling plane. And we start, we got to get into the right window, and ceiling plane. So it's going to come off of this wall and go up towards the center. But this is my starting wall. So I start with dragging a line across where I want it to start. And then that is going to pull it up, 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 up to the top. And that's it. it has created our cathedral ceiling there. And if you wanted just one vault that went all the way across, however you want to do that. And then you can open that. You can go into your settings here and you can change the pitch and move it up or down. So there's all sorts of options that you have in there. So for this room, I just wanted this nice cathedral look. And so let's go back over in here and look at how that, whoops, wrong tool. I want this one. So that makes a nice, interesting ceiling happening all around in this room. So that is how to do a cathedral ceiling. So that is one option. So another option that comes up sometimes is you want to well, and I should say also that sometimes you don't have this part of the roof, so you could just make two sides of this. You could mirror this over. So there's all sorts of things you could do with this. So that's just the basic, simple way. So let's look at, sometimes we want to have maybe like a barrel vault, like a curved, rounded ceiling. So essentially that's going to be the same thing. But you're going to just use some different options in the dialog box. So I'm going to drop in a ceiling plane. I'm just going to do it in this big room right now so we can see it really well, even though we're not going to keep it for this project. Let's get into the right window and grab a ceiling plane. And I'm going to pull that across where I want it to start. And then that's going to go all the way across the room like that. So right now that is not, let's get into this room. Right now that's not going to show anything because I did not turn off the automatic ceiling in that room. So let's go in there and turn that off. Turn off that ceiling. And now you can see, let's see. Wrong tools. Wrong window. So there's where I added that ceiling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it. Okay, so when I click in here, it's selecting my room and everything else. So what you can do, if you can't grab onto something, choose whatever it will let you and then hit the tab key. And that will tab around and choose other things. I say that. There we go, slope ceiling plane. So that's how sometimes you just have to do a few times. And once we've selected the ceiling plane, you can see it's just making a slope just like it did in the other. So we want to go into the dialog box and we want to make it flat. First of all, it essentially starts out flat and then we curve it. So we're going to make that a 0 and we're going to lock that pitch. And then this is where it's going to start. So we've got it at our ceilings are 9 feet. So we want that to just start at 9 feet to be the bottom of it, which is what we've got. And then we're going to make that a curved ceiling. And this angle will depend on exactly, but if you want a rounded barrel vault, then you would do a 45-degree angle, and then those just fill in automatically, so just go with that. And then click OK, and that brought it down and curved it up. So if we go over here and look around, that gave us that barrel vaulted ceiling. So we're not going to keep that actually in this room, but I'll show you how to do it. So next, let's look at, actually, let's get rid of it because let's just go back to our flat ceiling in there. Because in here, I want to show you how to do some other ceiling treatments. So we're going to go back and put that flat ceiling back. So this is also just to show you that you can always go back and change and rearrange, and that's one of the beauties of Chief Architect is it just is so easy to make changes and work through your design process with all of this. So, okay, we've got that. So in this room, I want to put a couple of beams. So we do that by using a tool called the Soffit tool. And it is under the cabinet tool. It's here, it's the Soffit tool. So this is actually a really versatile tool that you can use for all sorts of things. So we just grab that and we're going to pull that into this room, and it kind of, there it goes. That's the direction I want it to go. That's not where I want it, but that's the direction I want it to go. Let's go back over here and look so we can see what we're doing. So there it has built a soffit for me. So if I did need a actual soffit, I can just drop that in and it will go ahead and pick up my room moldings. I can add more moldings to it too. I'll show you how to do that in a minute, or I can take the moldings off of it. So what I want to do is I want this to be a beam that's running up through my room like this, like a decorative beam. So let's see. I've still got my crown molding there, and it's picking up my moldings from the rest of my room. So if I were to, what is happening with my camera? If I were to want to do, this is how you would do a coffered ceiling as well. So I could take this same soffit and I can resize it. So I can make this whatever size I want, and your temporary dimensions will pick up. So if I wanted this to be 8 inches wide, I could just make it exactly 8 inches, and then I can also set it exactly how far away from that wall that I want that to be. And so I can get all of that very precise, and then when I open up my soffits, I can tell it the rest of its dimensions. So I only want it like 6 inches deep. And that dropped it down off of the ceiling. So let me open that back up, and I want it right at the top of my ceiling. So that's 108 inches. I want it to sit right flush against my ceiling. So there, and then it picked up my moldings again. So if I were to add another one of these, if I were to copy and paste this, I can copy, Control C, and I can Control V and place another one. And that placed that one that direction, but that's good because you can see how now that is just completely creating this coffered ceiling for me. There's my mouse. And I can go in and change the trim and do whatever I want, add any other detailing to this that I wanted to. Any other soffits that I add are just going to continue to create this design. So I could, let's make sure that's inside the room. And then, let's see, I'll show you another way to copy is this tool right here is the copy tool. So copy it, and then I'm going to get these options, and this is copy hold position. So that'll just place it right back exactly where it was, and then you can just drag it over. Why am I inside the floor? There we go. So I could just do that over and over again to create a coffer. I could also use this copy multiple tool, and I would need to go into the settings, and this is how far apart they're going to go. So if I want them all to be 36 inches apart, then I could just grab that. Oops, what happened? Multiple tool, and pull those all the way across, and it would just continue making all of those. So I could make a full coffered ceiling pattern using that soffit tool really quickly and easily. And when you go into it, go back into it, there's the sizes like we talked about. Here's the moldings. So right now it's picking up the room moldings because there is a setting. There is a setting somewhere that shows us the room moldings. There is a setting here under General to tell it to ignore the room moldings. So if I clicked that, click OK, now Oh, it's only doing it on that one, isn't it? Let's see. Let's look at that one. Right. So that one now has no moldings on it. So if I went back to that one, I can double click it and open it. And now I can go to moldings and I can add a new one, and I can choose any moldings that, oh, these are bonus catalogs. Let's go back to the normal catalogs. So I could pick any moldings that I wanted to use. So let's just try that one and see what it looks like. So now it's added that molding around it. So you can really have all the options that you want and make any sort of decorative ceiling super fast and super easy. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of all of these extra ones by just selecting and using the delete key on my keyboard. Get rid of all those because I don't want to do all those in this one. So I'm just gonna go back to this one. I'm going to ignore the room moldings because I'm actually going to make this just a wood beam. So I'm going to make that a wood material, and I'm going to do that over here in the 3D window. I'm going to use the paintbrush tool or the spray paint can, and I'm going to go up here into materials, and I'm going to go to wood. And I'm going to use, what should we use? How about, let's just use some white oak in a weathered kind of color. And then I can just paint that on there. So now I've got a wood beam in this room. So now I'm going to use my copy hold position, and I'm going to just drag that one over there and make sure it connects where I want it to connect. And now I've got beams in this room. Let's see. And when I select that one, let's see, let's copy that over again. Hold position and bring one right into this. Let's bring one in the center. So you could add those however you want, but that's how you add ceiling beams, decorative ceiling beams into your room. And the next one I want to show you is a tray ceiling. So this is something we use sometimes where we've got a recessed portion. And so that tool is going to be over here under the roof tool. So we've got a tray ceiling polyline. So what we do is we grab that tool and we draw where we want the recessed part to be. And literally that's it. It is that easy to do a tray ceiling. Let's go back over here and move our camera a little bit. So I wanted to have that sort of a bump up over where the kitchen island's going to be, and I can always come back and adjust that later, but all you have to do that is just grab it, and you can scoot it and move it, readjust it any way that you want. So and you can position it precisely if you need to, and make it exactly how you want. So that is the tray ceiling. And let's see, the next thing I want to show you is how to add a skylight. So because we have added the roof, we can add a skylight, and that tool is also over here under your roof tools. You've got a skylight here. Essentially it's just a window in the roof, and so you just grab it and drop it in. And let's go back outside and see what that looks like from out there. So that's it. And it automatically creates all of the framing and everything that goes into the skylight. Automatically creates the ceiling hole and the shaft through the attic and everything for you. And then you can just adjust the size to whatever you need it to be. And it will automatically do all of that in 3D for you. and you can go into your settings here for the skylight. And if you aren't doing you can make it a hole in the roof if you needed to do that. If it's not actually going to be a window, sometimes you need to do that for working with the roof. But you can change some of its style elements in here. So we're not going to. We're just going to leave it as is, and just have that. So that is going to be a skylight over my bathtub in my bathroom. So let's look back outside and see how that looks. There we go. So we've got a skylight, and I'm going to have that. I'm going to center it over that window, which is all going to be centered over the bathtub when we get that put in, so we can come back and make any of those adjustments. Yeah, because it's not letting me center right now because I don't have anything in that room. But I'm going to get all of that centered up and looking nice. So that is all the different options that you have. There are more options for doing more details and all of that, but that is a good overview to get you started on pretty much any kind of ceiling that you want to do. Okay, let's just look quickly at Interiors and Home Designer Pro. Here over in Interiors, you have the ceiling plane tool here. That will act the same way as it did over there, and you've got your skylight tool here, and you've got your soffit tool here under the cabinet tool. And over here in Home Designer Pro, you've got the ceiling plane and the skylight, and here you've got the soffit tool. So you can find ways to do all of your ceilings in all three programs.